Oh, hey Shiraz.
Hey Sam, uh, what are you doing?
Me? Nothing. Just trying to find an atom. No luck yet, though.
Come on, Sam. You won't be able to find an atom with a tiny magnifying glass.
What? Why?
You need something way more powerful to see an atom. That just won't work.
Oh, I see. Have you ever wondered what an atom looks like? Or why it looks like that?
If you've ever wondered these things, it's your lucky day, because we're going to be discussing that right now.
So, guys, before we start, let's start off with a joke. Why can't you trust an atom? Because they make up everything.
You suck.
The idea that matter is made out of particles that cannot be broken down has been traced back all the way to the 5th century before the Common Era. This idea has been revisited many times, even by famous scientists and chemists such as Galileo and Newton. But the modern day atomic theory that we know today has been made by the English chemist and meteorologist John Dalton. Here's a picture of him. Great, so now we know a little bit about the history of an atom. Thanks, John Dalton! But wait, how are the atoms structured, or how do they look like?
Atoms are made of microparticles that contain a charge. The three microparticles that make up an atom are called neutrons, electrons, and protons. The middle of an atom is called the nucleus, and that's where all or most of the atom's mass is. The nucleus contains both the neutrons and the protons of the atom. Protons are positively charged, and neutrons are neutral in charge. In the neutral form of an element, which is made up of identical atoms, the number of protons and electrons are the same. Electrons are the microparticles that contain negative charge. Usually, when a chemical reaction happens between atoms, electrons move between the atoms. To demonstrate the movement of electrons, we have set up rings in diagrams that make the electrons orbit the nucleus, as seen in this picture.
Okay, let's go back to what we learned about the atoms of elements. The atoms of the same elements are identical. We can use diagrams to show what the atom of that element looks like.
Let's take a look at the Bohr-Rutherford diagram.
The Bohr-Rutherford diagram basically illustrates the whole structure of an atom of an element. The picture that we just saw before, that was the Bohr-Rutherford diagram of the element sodium, of the atom of the element sodium.
As you can see, sodium has 11 protons, and to make a neutral, the same amount of electrons.
Electrons orbit the big circle in the middle, which we know as the nucleus. They orbit on rings or shells around the nucleus. The outermost shell or ring in the diagram is what we call the valence shell. The electron or electrons that orbit that shell are what we call valence electrons.
Which brings us to our next type of diagram called the Lewis dot diagram.
The Lewis dot diagram is a visual representation of the valence electrons of an atom of an element.
The diagram is basically just a symbol of an element with the dots around it. The dots represent the valence electrons.
As you can see, the Lewis dot diagram corresponds with the Bohr-Rutherford diagram of sodium, because the valence electron in that diagram was 1, and so was it in this diagram.
Okay, so let's recap what we've learned today. Atoms are the building blocks of matter, and the first official theory of atoms was made by English chemist John Dalton.
Yes, and the structure of the atom is with the nucleus in the middle. Around it are shells, and on those shells orbit the electrons. The outermost shell is called the valence shell, and the electrons on that shell are called the valence electrons. The Bohr-Rutherford diagram shows a visual representation of an element's atoms.
And the Lewis dot shows the amount of valence electrons for the atom of each element. Okay, so there you have it. You learned basically what an atom is.
Remember, if you want to ask anything or just say anything about the video, comment down below. Also, remember to click that like button if you really enjoyed this one.
Remember to also click the subscribe button and turn on your notifications.
Yep, and if you haven't checked out our last video, here it is.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching. This is Shehraz.
And I'm Sam.
And this was another Crash Course video.